Hey guys, it's John. You're on the JRB Tree Climbing channel. A reminder as always to refer to my website, jrbtreeclimbing.com, for all of the latest information. Every video I make is simply an instant in time, and as we grow the technology, I'll use the website to keep you patched in with the latest. And the playlists, as you know, have a bookmark video in the middle of the playlist that kind of separate the new stuff at the top from the older stuff at the bottom. As you heard me say before, I reserve the right to make it better. I reserve the right to improve things. My most recent video was a new version of the JRB Cinch, the 2024 version of the JRB Cinch. It's the functional equivalent of the prior version. It works the same. It's simply easier to construct and deconstruct, and we need that in certain scenarios when we are retrieving the hitch. In this video, I'll be going over how to advance it up the tree, how to retrieve it, and in that process I'll explain why we need more rope relative to other systems when we're working with JRB Cinch systems to make retrieval as easy as possible. Okay, so let's watch this go on the tree. I pass it around the tree, and I tend to do this from left to right. I just got that orientation down, and I open my carabiner and place it through the bight of rope. And I cinch it on the tree this way. Just cinch it on. Now, if we're advancing the cinch manually, now the first thing I want you to realize is that I need you to be tied into the tree at all times. So if you, whether it's the JRB Cinch or something else, if you're manually advancing it, well, we can't count on that as an anchor at that time. We're going to need another anchor while we're actually advancing it. So I don't do a lot of the manual advancing, but I am fairly good at it. There's a couple ways to do it. The easiest, most foolproof way, even if you've got gloves on, is to put your hand through the loop, because now your hand helps control it. And then I put my hand around the carabiner and the retrieval cord at the same time, and I just pull away a little bit. See, I can pull it away as far as I want. And generally speaking, when we want to advance it, you don't want to err on having it too close to the tree. That's harder to advance. You want a little bit more distance. And at whatever distance I feel is appropriate, I use my fingers to pinch that bight of rope going around the carabiner. I pinch it, and now it's fixed. Now I can just move it up the tree, move it down, get it in the optimal position I want. And when I want to cinch it on, again, even if I let go, this allows me to cinch it. If you're a little bit more fluent, you don't need to put your hand through the tether. You can simply grab put my hand over the carabiner and the tether at the same time and pull that away a little bit. That works too, but it's a little bit more skill involved that way. I prefer to make use of the tether. Pull it away, pinch the bight, and walk it up the tree. A little more space. Okay, now this is the Maverick Pole. You're familiar with the Maverick Pole because I use it to advance the Maverick hitch. It works equally well with the JRB Cinch. Now we're not going to go very high here because I've got a branch right in the way, but I simply get it loose and ready for travel and walk it up the tree. And you're going to see quite a bit of this in future climbs. I push up on the pole while pulling down on the line and put it in place. Maverick Pole for advancing the JRB Cinch. Okay, now let's talk about retrieval. When retrieving the JRB Cinch, we're going to attach our retrieval line to the carabiner, but we don't want to pull down. We want to pull away. Now this would be hard to see up in the canopy, and so I'll demonstrate it here near the ground. I've got a couple different retrieval cords. I've got a 4mm cord, and I've got a 6mm cord, and of course 5 works great. I like a significant size retrieval cord, and I like a long cord. Considering the heights that saddle hunters typically climb, I don't like to use anything less than 30 feet to make sure I got room to walk away from the tree. On my retrieval cord, on each end, I have a loop tied. You can use a bowline, you can use an overhand end loop, you can use your favorite loop knot, but I've got a loop on each side. See that? Here's the 6 mil version, and here I've got a bowline on each end. All right, let's use that, and let's show you how I retrieve this. Now, if you've built your cinch like I have, that this half has either got some webbing on it or some tape, it'll run a little easier if you reorient the carabiner, if you put the smooth end of the carabiner to hold it. So I'll flip it into that mode before rappel. See, this end has got tape on it and this end doesn't. So that's how I put it on, and this is how I use it in rappel mode, just to minimize friction. I open the carabiner, I put my retrieval line in. I rappel, of course. Okay, so I'm on the ground, I'm at about a 45-degree angle, and if I can't pull on this with my hands, remember, we've got a loop on the other end. We can always pop a carabiner in that and really get some strength as we walk away. But you do need to plan for it, meaning if you're, let's say you're setting up near a marsh or near a waterway and you need to retrieve your cinch, you've got to make sure you set it in a direction that you can walk away from it to retrieve. Okay, so here's the retrieval. It's a two-stage process. And you can watch that carabiner. It's going to come away as it breaks that bite. You see that? Now that's usually pretty easy if you're standing away from the tree. And now, as this line takes tension, this is where we need to pull. We need to use some muscles because that tree might have quite a bit of friction with that rope going around it. There's a lot of variables here. But we get a good grip and we pull on this line. You can see it coming away. Now, there are some rules. I'm going to hold it right here so you understand. I have done a lot of these retrievals, and there's some rules about this retrieval that I need you to understand. As you watch this rope consumed here, you can imagine this tree has got some branches on it. I won't be able to continue to retrieve this rope if it's got a friction hitch on it, or a rappel device. I would need to take that off. And it's kind of inconvenient. I'd rather not do so. I'd rather carry a few extra feet of rope to ensure that I can always pull the system down and reach the carabiner. I can reach this carabiner and remove it. And now the rope goes through, and I can usually pull this through the tree, but there's certain cases where that won't happen, and I'm going to show you that on a different tree. Okay, check out this tiny little silly system that I built here. This small 8mm rope is cinched on the tree. I want you to imagine this distance as being a lot higher, but there are impediments on the tree. Here I've got a very small branch, and there could be one, there could be 10 of them. It could just be a rough piece of bark. We don't know what might hang this up in the process of retrieval. But in the process of retrieval, we're going to experience a problem. Now this system, not only does it have a friction hitch on it, this happens to be a double-sided system. There's another JRB cinch on the other end and another friction hitch. It doesn't matter if you've got 3 devices, 1 device, or 10 devices on this side. We're simply going to shove them all to the end, and we're going to start to retrieve this. And the reason I'm showing you this on such a short tree is to demonstrate that I want to be able to have enough rope to ensure that I can pull that carabiner down far enough such that I can physically reach it. Now here, I only need a couple feet, but you'll see this in my future videos, and I've measured this distance, and I'm going to give you that information. I'm going to explain why. Because of the retrieval scenarios with the JRB cinch, we always want a few more feet of rope in our systems. Okay, so here, I'm going to start to retrieve it. Here it comes, and look, it's obviously not going to drop further than that. And I pull down and pull down and pull down. Obviously, I'm simulating a much longer ride, and I'm still, as long as I am able to reach both sides of the system, and I can get to this carabiner, then I can take this off, and let's see what happens, and pop this through. Now, if the crotch that it's stuck on is kind of an open crotch, I'll be able to get this through. I'll be able to get it through. So let's see what happens. I've intentionally chose one that's not. Let's see what happens. Look, it's stuck. I can't get that through. So what am I going to do? Well, that's why I built a system with the JRB Cinch that's so easily removed. It's easier to remove the cinch than it is to take off our friction hitches. And only in this condition would we need to remove our cinch. So let me do that. There's a separate video on the JRB Cinch 2024 which shows all of these details, how to build it and how to remove it and pop it back on and pop it off. But I've just removed that cinch and exploded it. And now, of course, I can retrieve my line. Okay, so let's do the math. I've done the math and I've done the measurement. Let's say our feet are at 22 feet off the ground and our tie-in is at 28 feet off the ground. You double 28 to get to 56. We need about 6 to 8 feet less than that. Let's go with 6, the safe number. We need about 50 feet of rope. And so that's kind of my recommendation. If you're building a JRB cinch system, I don't care if you're using 1 cinch or 2 cinches, I want to maximize your retrievability scenarios. And there's not a lot of extra rope to do that. In fact, here I've got a double JRB cinch system. And this is only 3.5 pounds and it's 50 feet of rope. It's about the size of a football. Please go the extra mile and use the extra 10 feet if you're building a JRB cinch system. Okay, I'm going to show you this on a climb real soon. Thank you very much.